Ok, faccio un po' di post.
Okay, just posting on our Telegram and stuff. Have you liked MLB and NBA yet, or?
Sorry, have I looked at the NBA?
Yeah.
I bought a few cards. I definitely overpaid for them. I kind of knew I was going to overpay for them because I did it with MLB and I
Yeah.
knew, but I don't know. I just fooled myself into thinking that having lower scarcities,
Yeah.
getting the cards earlier to start them training, whatever else, would matter more. And it might do in the longer term, but I think short term the prices have come down a lot, which I don't really care about because I plan on holding these for like a long time. But I think it's just a completely different type of game.
Yeah.
Whenever I've basically bought like 3 or 4 of the best players and I can't really play them.
You can play
Like,
one pretty much.
yeah, it's just different. Like literally, like they've opened up limited contender, and I have
Yeah.
Giannis, Ja Morant, LeBron, Steph Curry, and I like can't put a team out. Like, so it's a bit like, oh, okay, what are we gonna do here? So I don't know. I'm actually trying to look at it now. I was planning on building my team later, but yeah, I really don't have like enough.
Know more or less how this works. Like everyone is gonna go crazy at the start, and there's a moment to buy. And I thought I was like, I have like a week and a half to do that. It's fine. And then they just announced the tournament like 2 days after, and I was like,
Mm,
okay, I don't have a week and a half.
yeah,
But I bought quite a bit of the low cap guys that play. So because I guess people weren't looking at them a lot, and I've managed to buy them on as soon as the tournament was announced, like the morning after. I was able to
yeah,
get 3 or 4 and triple on them. The same numbers as MLB right now after 3 months, 4 months.
wow,
So
yeah,
it
yeah.
says the
Looking
num
at that,
it says
even like,
the
and
it says
sorry,
the numbers of people playing are a ton more than MLB, which is good, I guess, because the prices haven't like rare wise, the prices have stayed stable or have gone up for the players that are needed for cap.
Hmm.
So if they've minted that many and the prices are still like that,
Yeah,
then it should be fine.
yeah, it's mad. I'm just looking now.
So here we are. Here we are with John Nellis. That's incredible. We are very happy to have John here with us. John is one of the best content creator in Sorare world, and so we are happy. Hi, John.
Hello, how are you?
Well, fine. And, ovviamente saluto anche Gugli, tanto il nostro pubblico lo sa. Hi, Gugli.
Ciao a tutti, ciao a tutti.
Okay. So, John, when did you start to play Sorare, and why?
Where? Why? Okay, I started 2 years ago at the end of September 2020, and why? I think I was on a UK based platform called Football Index at the time,
Mm,
and they weren't doing things very well. And there was another game called Footstock at the time, which was kind of like So Rare, but not officially licensed and more gambling. It was gambling regulated, but I thought both games were really good fun, or both platforms were very fun. And it was all about the speculation of players' careers and how they were going to do in the future, and then fantasy type tournaments. So I just loved that whole idea. And then when So Rare was brought to my attention by a couple of friends like Hybe and Quinny from Scotland, who both make content, I resisted it for a while. I was like, oh no, crypto, ugh, like blockchain and nah. And then eventually I crumbled and gave it a go and set up my wallet and got money in, and then very quickly became addicted to the game because I thought it was so much fun. And I think what I loved about it more than other games was that everyone didn't have the same team. Which is definitely still the case at Rare and Super Rare. Maybe not so much at Limited, but when you play Fantasy Premier League, when you play a lot of other fantasy games, everyone can pick the same team. But I felt like So Rare, with all the different cards having different XPs, a certain amount of every card, it just added a lot of variance to the game, and you could really cheer for your player. So yeah, that's why I got into it, because I thought it just looked like a really good game.
Quindi ragazzi, velocissimamente, praticamente John è entrato nel 2020, settembre 2020, quindi ormai 2 anni fa, è entrato dopo aver fatto esperienze su altri giochi fantasy che ha nominato, insomma magari non li nominiamo, tanto è roba inglese, probabilmente non la conoscete, ma poi dopo da 2 suoi amici content creator scozzesi gli è stato segnalato Sorare. All'inizio non era troppo convinto, ma la cosa che più gli piace è il fatto che ognuno di noi, in effetti come dice lui, in raro e in super rare, questo è abbastanza vero, magari con le limited un po' meno, come sottolineava anche lui, in realtà può schierare una squadra diversa da tutti gli altri competitor. E questa è una roba effettivamente che rende una cosa, tra l'altro, a cui ho pensato pochissime volte, ma sono decisamente d'accordo con John. Vai, Gugli, fai una domanda a te, a John.
All right. First of all, thanks a lot for all of this, and sorry for then speaking Italian as well and translating for everyone, because that's the biggest problem with Italian people is not many of them true, because it's very hard, to be honest, to speak Italian. We're gonna teach you slowly. But no, like as I said, we were explaining a bit your situation, and I heard a lot about other games and stuff like that before, and I heard like there were a situation, I think the one you were saying, which was Football Index, it was closed because of gambling laws and stuff like that.
It not quite. It was more that it was a Ponzi scheme that wasn't regulated correctly from the start. It was blatant lies, I think, from the management, where they were they said they had partnerships. They didn't. They were supposedly working with NASDAQ. They were shirt sponsors for Nottingham Forest and for QPR in England. They had a lot of relationships to kind of build credibility, but behind the scenes, they were just funneling money out of the company. And eventually they crumbled and everyone lost their money, over 100 million. So it was big. Yeah, 120 million or something, I think, was lost, but it was like fraud. It was outright foul play. It wasn't necessarily like an issue. Like it wasn't a mistake. It was calculated, so it was crazy.
That's actually insane. Actually, that's one of the reasons why I'm, for now, happy with Sorare in general, because even with the crypto market being how it is, like for a lot of us that have invested in Sorare, if you had Ethereums, you haven't really felt the crash, right? Because our players are valued in euros, so to say. That's what I feel, at least. There's a lot of people that value the players in euros. So if Ethereum goes from 3K to 1K, rather than having a player worth 0.2, it's now worth 0.6, for example, which is really good for having my cryptocurrency if you're working with cryptos, because I know a lot of people try to gain money, but at least the way we think it, me and Dario as well, and the other person, is our idea of Sorare is trying to build as much Ethereum as possible for 4 or 5 years in the future, so a long-term investment. How do you think in Ethereum or do you think in euros? You know how there's this long time question of where do I gain?
I think I always use it to I think everyone tries to use it to their advantage in terms of negotiations. Like if it suits me to think in euros, I'll think in euros. If it suits me to think in ETH, I'll think in ETH, depending on the time and depending on the exchange or the fluctuations. I think I think in terms of ETH whenever I value players. I don't think in terms of euros, but at the same time, I don't know. I can't say when I look at my gallery value or anything, I worry whenever it comes down in ETH price or euro price. I don't know. I think I'm playing such like a long-term game that I don't really care that much shorter term, which is wrong. I mean, if you're here to make money, you probably need to have a strategy and stick to it, be that trying to accumulate ETH or be that trying to accumulate euros and withdrawing whenever you make profits and stuff. But I don't know. I'm very passive in terms of like, I've accumulated lots of cards over the last 2 years. I play to try and win. And then when I win things, I might sell them for a fair price in ETH or euros. I don't know. I don't really care. Whatever suits me at the time, whatever makes me the most. What is it? ETH. I think if I had to pick one, it's probably ETH. I was going to say whatever makes me the most, and then I was always like, what makes me the most? What? I think it's ETH. ETH.
Perfect. Yeah, it feels like all the older people, so to say, or people that have been in surf for quite a bit, think in ETH.
Yeah.
My next question. Sorry, Dario. If do you want to translate?
Vai. No, vabbè, per il momento stiamo parlando, ragazzi, no, gli ha chiesto Gugli qual è la questione, una delle questioni di cui abbiamo discusso spesso anche noi, la relazione fra et e ovviamente euro, e sostanzialmente John, andando al nocciolo della questione, diceva che dipende dal momento, a volte pensa in quello e pensa in un altro, però ovviamente probabilmente la cosa migliore da fare sarebbe pensare in net, visto che poi è la moneta del gioco ed è quella che tutti noi vogliamo guadagnare. Te intanto fai un'altra domanda, Gulli, che poi c'è anche una domanda dal pubblico.
All right. The other question I had was, so in general, how do you feel the question would be the stability of Sorare in general and the future and stuff like that. But my second question is because I've seen the change they've made specifically with NBA and MLB, and then we'll go back and talk about it later. But how they've sort of gone away from ETH prices and ETH thresholds and all of that. So right now in both MLB and NBA, you have no chance to win ETH at all. Like you can just win cards. Do you feel like it could work? Because at least what we believe is it works right now, but in the moment that there's no growth in players, I feel like that could become a serious problem because there's no one putting money in, right, to buy the players you're winning.
I think the thing with the NBA and MLB is they can't have the ETH thresholds or the cash prizes because of regulations in the US.
Fair enough.
I think the problem with that becomes is whenever you win cards that you use to win more cards, to buy cards, to trade cards, to win cards, it just seems a little bit stupid. Because ultimately you could put 2 years of work in and you just keep winning cards essentially, and you only hold cards and not like actual intrinsic value. I feel like the ETH on the football side adds a value to the cards or a yield. But the difference is that the one thing I think they can do to make it sustainable longer term is really lean into the experiences and the real world stuff. I think there's platforms out there like Socios. I met a guy last week in Paris who, through Socios and his fan token, which get a lot of ridicule and a lot of people don't like them. It was the first time I'd actually heard about them spoken positively. He goes to like PSG games VIP every 2 weeks when they're at home through his fan token, through his NFT experiences that he gets. And I think if Sorare find a way, I think at the minute they just don't have the manpower in terms of the employees and the feet on the ground to distribute the merchandise, the jerseys, leverage relationships, give out tickets, manage the distribution of tickets to the correct people who can attend the games in the right countries. Because if you live in Italy, you're going to be able to go to Serie A games. Why would you get Bundesliga tickets? Unless you wanted to fork out the money yourself and book it. And even if that's the case, you're not going to go to a Bundesliga with one game with 1 week's notice. You're going to need time. So I think the problem with Sorare is at the minute they don't have the systems in place to correctly distribute these extra experiences, which can be invaluable. You know, with the amount of money in the company, with the licenses and deals they have, player access has to be part of that. They have got player access. So what about giving fans access to their favorite players, be that going to a training session, maybe having tournaments where people get to go and kick a ball around with Danny Parejo at Villarreal, whoever it is. The point is, I think, like, outside cash and just cash, you can really make fans buy in beyond just winning cash if you have experiences, merchandise tickets, free beers when you go to games, shout outs on over the intercom at halftime. I don't even know, kicking a ball at the goal at halftime at the match of your favorite team, whatever it is. I don't even know. I just think there's a lot more they can leverage there. I think that's where it inevitably has to go. I also think, you know, the secondary fees will be a big thing for them longer term. And maybe that's why they're minting so many NBA cards early. Get them all out, get them in people's hands, and then they'll cream money off secondary. But that's probably a different discussion altogether.
Traduco velocemente. Che gli ha fatto Gugli, e dice che dovrebbero cominciare a guardare verso Socios, verso esperienze, diciamo così, più strutturate, e che hanno un problema di relazione, diciamo così, con la propria fan base Sorare, cioè dovrebbero provare ad implementare quelli che possono essere le extra experience derivanti, che ne so, da realizzare gameplay come hanno già fatto per, che ne so, vincere buglietti in Bundesliga piuttosto che nella Liga, però dovrebbero essere più localizzati. Quindi ad esempio per noi in Italia potrebbero inserire delle competizioni in cui vinciamo dei biglietti per andare a vedere le partite di Serie A, perché è semplicemente più comodo. Però allo stesso modo dovrebbero provare a fare anche qualcosa che crei più interazione ancora fra il fan e, che ne so, i calciatori, piuttosto che provare a tirare un calcio di rigore durante una partita, cioè un po' come succede nell'NBA, negli sport americani, no? Dove l'interazione durante i tempi, no? Due tempi principali, penso soprattutto all'NBA, è pazzesca, perché fanno un sacco di cose che scendono in campo e, no, hanno una relazione di interazione molto molto grande con i propri spettatori. Quindi quello che dice John è che dovrebbero cominciare a lavorare di più nell'interazione con la propria community. Vai, Gugli.
All right, perfect. Sometimes
I
I
stopped
was
trying
about.
to. Sorry, I was going to say I'll stop making such long answers.
Oddly enough, is I was thinking about what you were saying, and I live in Spain now, so I live in Valencia, about an hour away from the Villarreal Stadium.
Oh, cool.
And oddly enough, and so you're speaking about Villarreal, about Parejo and stuff like that. And while Dario was translating, I was like about to speak. I was like, shit, I'm about to speak Spanish and not English. So a question they had from the people that are watching they were asking if when you started Sorare, was there a threshold in football, or did they add it later on?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think there was. They definitely changed it not long after
Okay.
I joined. I think they might have brought it in, and they had it tied to ETH initially. It was like 0.01 ETH and 0.02 ETH, but it might have been less than that initially. I can't remember. It was 2 years ago. I think they definitely changed it. I think they might have introduced it around the time I joined, maybe.
Quindi
I
ha
can't
detto,
remember.
vedete, già ha detto sì, che non si ricorda assolutamente se questa cosa c'era già quando l'ho iniziato. Probabilmente no, ma sono passati ormai 2 anni e quindi non si ricorda se all'inizio del game c'erano le soglie, insomma.
And also another question is, we were talking about this a bit earlier, right before we went live, and people are asking. There's a lot of communities that are born through Sorare. I think you have had like 4 or 5 meetups at this point, from
Yeah.
what I've been seeing. So all over the world and stuff like that. And the person that was asking was saying, and I feel like the biggest problem right now of Sorare is communication. Do you feel like it's something they could do better? Is there a way that the way they're doing, or do you think the way they're doing it is fine and it doesn't really affect you?
I don't know. I think they used to do it incredibly, and then they started
Mhm.
doing it very badly. And I think now they do it a bit better than they did 6 months ago, a year ago, but they still aren't
Yeah.
perfect. I think quite often when we use the platform, we expect to hear much more than they can ever tell us. And because we play the game every single day, all the time, it's almost like time feels like it's moving really slowly or something. Whereas I think for them in the office, it feels like time's probably moving very fast. And while they're trying to get lots of things done, I don't think they can tell us as much as we want to know. Could they do things more timely? Yeah, like in terms of, it would be nice to know what the plans are for the World Cup. But then the other side of that is maybe they're trying to wait until the world's eyes are on the World Cup. You know, you could announce your World Cup game now when no one really cares, because like no one outside us, because there's another week, 2 weeks before normal football stops and teams go away. Whereas maybe if you announce this in a week or two's time, a week before the World Cup, say, maybe then the world's eyes are on the World Cup, and maybe people would be more excited by this free to play version of the game, maybe, or because I imagine they have to lean into the commons and limiteds like they have across the board. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So maybe I kind of get both sides in terms of their communications as a whole. I think as the bigger they get and the more corporate they get and the more money in the company, it's obviously very hard for them to say the things that we'd like them to say. Could their communications be better? Yeah, definitely. And I think the community announcements like there were for NBA are just very clean and corporate, and I don't know. They're just in a different stage, maybe as a company. Where a year ago, 2 years ago, they were very small, and it all felt very AMA, and like you were talking to the CEO. Now it feels very much like it's a gargantuan company that you get very specific communications about. Rarely, maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
For my opinion, at least, is that
Traduco al
from
volo, traduco al
yeah,
volo.
okay.
Così rispondiamo alla domanda e poi diciamo la nostra. Allora, praticamente quello che dice John in realtà introduce un argomento molto molto interessante, nel senso che è quello del tempo. La gestione del tempo è una roba che mi piace, nel senso che ovviamente per noi che stiamo dentro il gioco tutto il giorno, tutti i giorni, il tempo sembra procedere in maniera molto lenta e quindi magari la nostra sensazione è che non avvenga mai niente, che quindi ci comunichino molto male perché vorremmo più comunicazione, più notizie probabilmente con più costanza, mentre magari per loro invece il tempo va molto veloce, mentre sei in ufficio e programmi le robe. Poi essendo cresciuti dentro, come lui ha detto, una società gargantuale, praticamente come appunto un mostro gigantoide, sostanzialmente dalla piccola business company che erano e quindi che erano molto più easy, potevi parlare tranquillamente con Nicola Giulia senza problemi, insomma tutto molto più tranquillo. Oggi è molto più complesso, quindi cercano di avere una, diciamo, comunicazione lineare, più professionale. Vedete ad esempio quello che è successo con l'NBA, molto precisa, e quindi diventa tutto molto 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 più difficile, insomma, anche se è vero, ovviamente lo sappiamo, la questione della matrice, la questione che è successa a varia ed eventuale, insomma, sono successe una dopo l'altra, sicuramente dei problemi l'hanno creato. Vai Gugli.
Yeah, so from my side of things, at least, there's certain things which, in my opinion, they should have announced much earlier. One of them have been the matrix changes, for example, which I think were great, but I think 1 month is not enough for a matrix change that big because it pretty much, I'm not gonna say killed central defenders, but if I now think at certain players, I usually get if I'm doing a threshold team, for example, or I'm telling people on stream, hey, you want to build a threshold team? I used to say always get 2 defenders, and now I say get 2 midfielders because a defender does a foul and it's a -5, or a yellow card is a -5 because it's a free for a yellow card plus 2 for the foul, and then each goal is -4. Like we're at the end of a lot of leagues, which like MLS, the Asian leagues, people have been investing because if you look at the prices, I feel like there's some over investment happening right now in certain of these leagues. And let's say you take off the threshold, and all the mid-caliber players just lose value one day into the other. You know. So
No,
like
I
I
agree.
wish
I
that.
think like sorry, I thought you were done.
No.
I
Go
got
on,
it
go
in.
on. No, go
I
on.
was going to say I agree with you. Like the score matrix, I forgot about that. I think I was just so happy because Trent Alexander-Arnold was like the best. Then I was like, woo! I didn't care, but yeah, you're right. It was way too short notice for such a substantial change. Like realistically, that sort of thing should be happening at least 3 months in advance because that fundamentally changes the game. I think it was good. I think it was a good move. I just think yeah, you're right with the time. And then in terms of the threshold, I think it's one of those where I think Nicholas was on a French podcast a couple of weeks ago, and in that French podcast in French mentioned that the thresholds weren't going anywhere for now or something. But is it good enough to say that like that in a French podcast where 99% of your users aren't going to hear that when it's such pertinent information? You should probably just put that in writing and publish it.
Exactly.
But then that means they're accountable. So it's yeah, I get your point. Like that's not good enough communications because a lot of people are maybe weary about the threshold going in January, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think they've said they're not really going to do that. So why not alleviate those fears?
Like I know a lot of people believe and sort of like are a bit doubtful about this sort of things. What I always say is like just play as it is now, and when it changes, because if you stay there and think about it, then if I were to think about a year ago when I joined, then I wouldn't have done anything. So might as well just get the thresholds while there is a threshold, and then if it changes, you'll see they'll put something else, I guess, or I don't know. But yeah, it'd be nice to have it in writing. I understand what you say that they're having accountable. He also said in a French interview that was written down, and this was one of the questions that we were going to ask, but it connects really well with what you just said, that they were thinking about transferring to a stable coin because of how Ethereum goes up and down. What do you think about that? Because from our side, some of us are okay with it. Some others are like, we really want to invest in Ethereum. So it would, I don't know, it would make us doubt about the thing.
Yeah, I think. So first off, I'm not big into crypto, so I don't know a lot about stable coins and how they work exactly, but I've heard enough about them. I think any way you can make it easier to understand, and if that takes out Ethereum fluctuations and that added element of risk or knowledge that newcomers need to find. So like if I tell my cousin to join the platform, Ethan, you need to get a crypto wallet, and oh, did I lose you or am I back?
You had crashed for a
for
second.
2 seconds
I'm
maybe.
back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay.
I said if like my cousin joins Sorare, and I have to say to them, you deposit Ethereum, but you can think in pounds or dollars or euros. But then if Ethereum goes up in price, then you might have to pay more of this or less of that. It's complicated. It's another step. For mass adoption, it's not great. So I think anything that makes it easier for mass adoption is a good move. And if that's a stable coin, that's a stable coin. And if people who like accumulating ETH and use Sorare as a vehicle to accumulate ETH don't like that, I think they're probably being a bit naive, because I think anything that makes the platform more simple and easier for the masses will increase the value of your Sorare cards, because it'll increase the demand. I don't know if like a stable coin's the way to do that or just switching to fiat altogether, but ultimately, in my opinion, is anything that makes it easier to understand, because it's already complicated enough.
Ha dato una risposta John che traduciamo, insomma, abbastanza chiara anche questa, nel senso l'introduzione della stable potrebbe essere, diciamo così, significativa per allargare. Lui ha parlato di mass adoption, nel senso per espandere la piattaforma e arrivare così anche alla persona comune che magari si trova a difficoltà a dover, no, come lui diceva, faceva l'esempio dei suoi cugini. Se devo spiegare ai miei cugini come fare entrare nella piattaforma, gli devo dire: allora devi stare attento, il prezzo è quello, poi fra un pochino va di là, poi devi stare attento che va giù, risale di qui e poi va di là, insomma un po' complicato. E quindi dice, magari con una stablecoin invece questa cosa potrebbe, diciamo così, permettere di allargare e rendere la piattaforma più appetibile e più semplice. Comunque indicativamente, se andassimo comunque nella direzione di rendere il più semplice possibile la piattaforma, probabilmente sarebbe più facile anche aggregare e fare entrare altre persone, ed in effetti questa cosa non è proprio completamente sbagliata. Vai Gullies.
Okay, perfect. No, I completely agree with most of the stuff you've said, to be honest. It's really hard. As I said, I know a lot of people as well that haven't joined because they don't know crypto. So they're like, I'm not really want to join in something with crypto.
Yeah, it's another element of unknown and another element of risk. People can tolerate joining a new fantasy game, but whenever you add crypto into it, while in many ways it could be a strength, it's also a weakness, I think, when you want mass adoption, because we're ahead of the curve. As a blockchain NFT game, it's ahead of the curve. They want to be predominantly a fantasy football company that uses blockchain, not a blockchain company that has fantasy. The primary onboarding draw for Sorare is fantasy. So I think they've always said they don't want to be necessarily a crypto company. It's like a means to an end. That's how they achieve blockchain and digital scarcity. So yeah, just whatever they can do to make it more intuitive for non-crypto savvy people. Yeah, that's what I think is the best move.
For sure.
A lot of big words, so good luck translating. It's a lot of big words.
Vabbè, nel senso, John ha fatto un discorso che noi facciamo sempre, insomma, quindi lo ripeto tranquillamente, insomma, cioè l'importante è cercare sempre di arrivare con la piattaforma. Ovviamente è chiaro che in generale, questo l'ha fatto un po' anche a noi, lo diciamo sempre, nel senso che noi non conoscevamo Ethereum, non conoscevamo almeno io, ma no, nemmeno Guglia, nemmeno Simo, insomma, siamo arrivati totalmente un po' scevri, un po' poco esperti del mondo cripto, però nel senso ci piaceva questa cosa di investire in cripto, che c'era il fantasy game, l'abbiamo fatto senza paura. Ovviamente, diciamo, per la persona comune questo è un elemento di rischio mica male, insomma, il fatto che sia comunque il gioco legato alla cripto. E in questo momento poi storico, ne abbiamo parlato spesso, oltretutto è un problema perché ovviamente l'abbiamo visto in questi mesi che non c'è alcuna costanza su Ethereum. Ora sta piano piano risalendo, però va giù, poi risale, poi riscende, e quindi tutto ritorna sempre un po' lì. È chiaro che forse questo è uno dei blocchi per l'espansione del gioco. Questo probabilmente è così. Vai pure, Gugli.
So something we more or less touched on, but they've asked again, and it is, what do you think about the situation with MLB and NBA? Do you feel like they have a good future, or how do you see that part of Sorare going? Because obviously the football part has sort of exploded. I guess the limited market is a bit of a problem right now, I guess, for a lot of people. But how do you see the situation in MLB and NBA?
Sorry, broke up there a second. I think they're both obviously very, very early in their adoption and as a product. When we look at football and how long it took for mass adoption or to have 100,000 users or however many, I think it took a long time. I think we were also lucky that there was like an NFT boom and a bull market. But I think now going into these platforms with a bear market, global recession on the the edge, I think the game needs to be spot on. The game needs to be incredible. Now, there's two things. I think this is the first season of the NBA. So I think what's going to happen is it's just going to happen over time, like it has with Sorare football, where word of mouth is everything. So there'll be a lot of new players have come in from Top Shot and from wherever else, and they're all going to play the game. If they enjoy the game, they're going to tell their friends. And I think over time, we'll see more and more people come in. Early waves of cards, and they've minted a lot of cards, were obviously bought up from football users, the MLB users, some people who'd maybe been excited for NBA coming. On top of that, maybe you had a quick sort of adoption from some of the Top Shot crew. But ultimately, I think it's nowhere near being advertised enough for us to judge, the current demand, based off like its launch. It is a long way to go, the full season of basketball. I think MLB, this was very much like a soft launch halfway through a season. I think the people have got a taste for the game. Ramping up into next season, I think it'll be a real push. And it'll be huge for MLB. So I think while both of their markets, particularly limited is always a much harder market to sustain prices in because there's so much more liquidity. And whenever a few people want to sell a player for any reason, they can undercut, and the prices can go like this much more. They're much more volatile. Whereas I think with the rares and super rares, you're a bit more protected. But obviously the limiteds in both basketball and baseball compared to football have 5,000 cards as opposed to 1,000. So there's even more liquidity and even more volatility. So whenever sentiment isn't great or whenever there's not a lot to do with the cards, it's only natural that the prices come right down. But that also means, I think, whenever demand can come in or comes in, there's a lot more people who are at that budget who can buy. So I don't know. I don't know if that's even answering the question, to be honest. I just think it's very early for both of them. And anyone worrying short term because the prices have come down on LeBron James cards or the prices have come down on Giannis's, the first mints always go stupid and then it comes down. And it might go up someday. But I just don't think we have enough data to really, I don't know, judge them. If that makes sense.
Sostanzialmente la questione dice, no, sulla domanda rispetto a MLB, Sorare, NBA e cosa è successo rispetto al calcio, perché ovviamente John è dentro da più di noi e quindi ha esperienza diretta anche di questo, dell'evoluzione del calcio. Cioè, comunque ancora bisogna aspettare perché insomma l'NBA probabilmente potrebbe piacere di più perché già esistono, effettivamente ne abbiamo parlato anche noi di questo, altri fantasy game tipo Top Shot, insomma, ma soprattutto è il mercato americano che deve reagire, ovviamente NBA e MLB in questo momento, e c'è da aspettare. Ricordiamoci che appunto che l'MLB è arrivata a metà stagione, la NBA sta iniziando adesso, quindi la prima stagione è proprio in concomitanza con la partenza di questa stagione, quindi insomma ci vuole un po' di tempo, un po' di pazienza per vedere come reagiranno naturalmente gli utenti. La gente è un po' arrabbiata, un po' impaurita perché ha visto magari il prezzo del primo LeBron andare subito giù, il prezzo del Giannis andare subito giù. Ovviamente il ragionamento diverso è da fare con le limited, come diceva John, come diciamo sempre anche noi, perché le limited ovviamente hanno un altro tipo di mercato, lo sappiamo, è un mercato dove la gente si impaurisce subito se succede una roba e quindi i prezzi calano subito, così all'inverso se succede un'altra positiva i prezzi salgono immediatamente, quindi soprattutto però ecco diceva John di stare calmi, insomma, e di affrontare con serenità un po' il tutto senza farsi prendere troppo dall'ansia. Vai, Gugli.
No, for
È
sure.
più British lui di noi, è più British, è più tranquillo.
Someone is asking for a chat if you know where all the PSG players ended up, and if you've bought them all up.
have I been buying PSG players?
I don't know.
Let's see if it's true. Let's see if it's true.
Or
I don't have too
Zuma.
many. Just a couple.
Just a couple of Donnarumma. Just a couple of Donnarumma.
Just a couple of Donnarumma. I think I've got Hakimi and Nuno Mendes, and then an Mbappe at limited. I think that's about it. I don't have too many.
No, not too many.
No, not exactly, not too many. Mainly just what are your thoughts in general of stuff you would make better on Sorare? Like, what would you take away 100%? What is something you literally don't like about Sorare, and what is something you would add if it was up to you?
God.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
It is, because I don't know. What would I take away, and what would I add? I don't know. I kind of like it as it is. I think like more game modes in terms of using different numbers of cards might be fun. Like playing SO3, SO7, SO11 occasionally might be fun. I think what I really can't wait to see, and I really, really, really hope it happens, is special tournaments where you can use your NBA, MLB, and football cards together. I think that'd be really, really fun. Obviously, there mightn't be a massive overlap in when the seasons run, but there has to be certain weeks when they do. And even if not, even like a special football, basketball week would be fun. I think as well, what I liked in the MLB was, do they still have it? Play upcoming, the sports card nonsense special.
Yes, they do.
I think branded competitions could be very big. I think branded competitions could be huge. Like, I think if we have, as we see in NBA, if we go and look at how many people already for next week, and I mean already for this week, sorry, which is game week 2, there's like 43,000 common contenders entered and over 50,000 common champions. That's over 50,000 users of NBA already, you could say, are people who are aware of it and entering teams. If we look at football, I don't know what the numbers are in terms of common for the upcoming game week, like tomorrow, casual, like 80,000. You see, if we have massive numbers, like 100,000, whatever, people whose eyes are on things, that's an incredible opportunity for companies to advertise. And by sponsoring game weeks, that's an incredible opportunity. Can you imagine football gets to the point where there are 250,000 entrants? And then all of a sudden Nike can come in and sponsor a tournament where they give away limited edition trainers and they give away access to this and vouchers to that, or football clubs come in and sponsor a competition and in return you get whatever. I don't know. I just think it's a huge opportunity. Again, come back to more prizes. I think branded and sponsored competitions could be massive in terms of diversifying the prize pool.
No, for sure. Actually, that's actually something pretty cool, and maybe they can give, as you were saying before, experiences, real life experiences that they can put in.
Yeah, like imagine. Yeah, sorry.
Go on, John. Go on.
Like, I mean, I'm just pulling out random stuff. Imagine Air France sponsor a competition because there's if you have 500,000 players, if you have big numbers, companies want to get eyeballs. Companies want to sponsor. They have marketing budgets like everyone else. If they'll pay for all expenses paid trips, like the winner of this gets to go to the World Cup final with this, sponsored by such and such. It's no cost to Sorare. They're selling our eyeballs with advertisement, but I think we'd be happy enough with that.
Yeah.
So I just think it's an opportunity, and there's a million ideas that people will have, but I just think it's really interesting.
Beh, non male in effetti, sostanzialmente quello che ha detto John è che potrebbe essere interessante o inserire, insomma, indifferente, competizioni crossover fra calcio, NBA, MLB, studiando ovviamente le game week in cui le cose possono succedere, o semplicemente fra calcio e NBA, quindi dove puoi schierare calciatori o giocatori dell'uno o dell'altro sport, insomma, così da farli interagire fra di loro. Potrebbe essere divertente, certo complicato nel gameplay, ma magari insomma uno si può inventare la roba. E poi ovviamente la cosa curiosa sarebbe aumentare ancora di più le competizioni branded o sponsorizzate, insomma quelle legate a qualche brand che a un certo punto, vedendo i numeri crescenti, vedendo numeri più grandi, decidono di interagire direttamente con il popolo di Sorare, per cui, che ne so, lui faceva l'esempio di Air France piuttosto che di Nike, piuttosto che di grandi brand che possono entrare dentro a Sorare, regalare magari, che so, un viaggio a Timbuktu, un viaggio a Trondheim, no? A journey to Trondheim with Air France. Why not? Why not? Why not? E poi, oppure se no, appunto, che ne so, la Nike che regala scarpe, che regala magari ingressi liberi allo stadio, insomma, roba che per Sorare sostanzialmente non ha un costo, ma che permetterebbe a questi sponsor ovviamente di arrivare a più persone possibile. Però il problema è sempre il numero degli iscritti. Questo poi alla fine, poi tanto si torna sempre lì, insomma, finché Sorare non si allarga. Queste sono belle idee, però rimangono un po' ferme lì. Vai, Gugli.
Ma io più che altro non ho nulla, se vuoi fare tu delle domande che...
Fagli quella lì che ti ho mandato, l'ultima che ti ho scritto.
Alright.
Poi chiudiamo, insomma, siamo già tanto e siamo live.
Okay, so there's a question from the people watching us. So without threshold and without the USDT, do you think that whales will start to be mad on that because they believe in Sorare? I mean, wait, I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the question really well. One sec. Alessio, mettila in italiano. Che
sì, la
non si
domanda è
capisce.
quella lì sempre, Gugli. Cioè, nel
Cos'è?
senso, quella che ci fanno spesso, no? Col fatto che magari potrebbero abbandonare
Mhm.
allora magari le balene si arrabbiano perché ci hanno investito, ci hanno creduto, e poi allora a quel punto a lui gli chiedono: ma te credi più nella piattaforma o in Ethereum? Quindi sono due
Ok,
domande.
ok, però vabbè, ho già risposto mezzo più o meno, però vabbè. Ok, so the question
Facciamo
was
la
with
seconda, magari la seconda può essere interessante, credi più nella piattaforma o in Ethereum.
Okay, so the question was pretty much with the possibility of the platform leaving Ethereum. Do you like the people believing that a lot of whales that have joined, so sort of whales that have joined because of the cryptos and are staying because of the cryptos? So I don't know, like people like the Zima Blue, for example, which I think might be someone that is there because of crypto and stuff like that. Roxy and these kind of people. If they were to move away from Ethereum, do you think like these people would come out of Sorare and then it would be a big problem for Sorare? And do you believe in the project, or do you believe in the project also because of the way it's built in with crypto?
I think the only reason Sorare would leave Ethereum is if they believed it was best for the future of the platform and for growing the platform. I think if people are here for strictly Ethereum, that's fine. Would some of them leave? Yeah, they would. But I think if they change, it's because they think that's where the growth is, and I think that's positive for everyone. So why someone would sell on news like that confuses me, because Sorare wouldn't do that lightheartedly. They would have done a lot of research, you'd imagine, because that's pivotal. Like that would be a huge moment. I don't think they would do it lightly. So I think if someone was to leave because they've changed, it seems a little bit counterintuitive, unless you just don't, unless they didn't believe it would work, at which stage obviously it makes sense to leave. So I don't know. I think if Sorare ever were to make a change like that, they would probably do a lot of surveys and work out how people feel. Because if all the whales would leave, then that's not going to help the platform. But if all the whales leave because they're annoyed, then they all lose their money too. So why would they all just leave? I don't know. It's a weird one.
It's very strange, yeah.
It's hard to answer, I think.
E dice, ma effettivamente sì, le balene potrebbero lasciare, ma perché dovrebbero farlo dopo aver investito così tanti soldi? Alla fine poi no, una delle questioni vere è quella, dicevo, ci hanno investito tanti soldi, sì è vero, potrebbero arrabbiarsi, però poi dopo devono levare milioni di euro, perché Zima c'ha 1,5 milioni, Roxy ce n'ha 4 milioni di euro, quindi insomma perché dovrebbero levarle? Questa è un po' la questione. Io ragazzi, se non avete altre domande lerei John, che ci eravamo rimasti d'accordo di stare più o meno su 3/4 d'ora, e poi tanto semmai lo rinvitiamo, insomma ci sono miei problemi, no? Gulli, io andrei.
Sì.
Salutiamo John allora.
Perfect. Well, we've been quite a bit already, so unless you want to say something, also shout out your channels 100%, so we can.
Yeah. Shout out the channel. Something to the Italian community, John.
Sure, geez, I don't know. If they don't speak English, they should probably ignore me.
No.
But
in
you can just
Italian.
find my name. Where is it? Here on
Yeah.
YouTube probably is the one, or YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, wherever, where I talk about Sorare, pretty much.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thanks a lot, John. Thanks a lot.
No, thanks for having me.
We can do this thing again in the future.
In the future.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure a lot. Thanks a lot for coming.
Thanks, guys.
Bye guys. Bye guys.
Bye,
Grazie,
bye.
seguite John su tutti, vabbè, i social, ma tanto ve li metto su Telegram. Bye bye.